You are watching The New American Media.
Hello, we are here at the 10th Annual Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, California, and I'm very pleased to be joined with author, lecturer, and speaker, Jordan Maxwell. Jordan?
Pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us. We were just talking about the Conscious Life Expo off air and kind of sum up your experience, because a lot of these people watching have never been able to physically attend one. You've seen a lot of them. Try to explain what we do there.
Well, Conscious Life Expo, which is this one, was preceded by, many years ago, another large conference called Whole Life Expo. Basically what these are is loosely termed New Age trade shows. People come from all over the world to present products and ideas and concepts and give lectures mostly on health and social issues, etc. And having products, and it's just a fun trade show for people who are spiritually inclined and intellectually as evolved enough to look at other people's ideas and thoughts and see where it might go. And so I started speaking at the Whole Life Expos back in, I don't know, in the mid to late 80s. And I was doing what I was doing back then, talking about the influence of secret societies and fraternal orders on world events, especially in relation to religion and politics. And I'm fascinated by the hidden world of power on the earth, where the real power resides, who's really in control. And my God, I first started talking about these subjects and doing public lectures on little Mickey Mouse venues, like library rooms and women's club, and some fraternal clubs would have me speaking. But that was back in 1962, 63, 64. So since the mid-60s, I've been talking about world events, international banking, world cartels, how the world really works. But it wasn't until about the mid-80s that I met with Paul Andrews, probably even a little early in the middle, maybe a little earlier. But anyway, I met with Paul Andrews. He invited me to speak at one of his conferences, the Whole Life Expo. And so that was kind of like a more professional presentation for the first time in my life. Now you're going before large audiences. And then because of that, I met Steve Allen, the musician, comedian Steve Allen, who started the Tonight Show. Steve and I became very close friends, and from there I started meeting other people, and I've done some projects with CBS and NBC and some of the research material, and I helped CBS put together some television shows on the ancient world of religions and cults and all that kind of thing. Because that's what I've always been interested in, the secret way the world really works.
Well, you touched upon I forget how you phrased it, the global financial cartel, something along those lines.
Something like
3 years ago, we got sucker punched real bad.
Oh yeah.
3 years later, we still haven't even figured out the damage that's been caused.
Exactly.
And I'm waiting for the avalanche. Now, what have you found? It's a well-told story over the past 3 years what happened, but what are you digging into, and what angles are you presenting based on your research?
Well, it's going to be very difficult because, first of all, you're asking for a subjective opinion. So it's just my opinion, for whatever that's worth. But I've been looking at this subject since early 1960s. So we're talking about 50 years of looking at these general subjects about world events, international banking, world government, world religions, etc. And so I have pretty much decided for myself that the story is so overwhelming that most people are not going to be able to handle the real truth about how the world really works. It's going to be, I always say to people that the cure for human problems, the cure for our world is going to be as bad as the disease, because in order to cure the world's problems, you're going to have to, first of all, understand the problems. And most people have no concept of what's going on in this country or any place else in the world. They have no idea. And so it's always been, for me, It's always been for me a desire to educate and teach what some call the occult world, the hidden world of knowledge and wisdom. And this is truly the work of a Mason. A Masonic order is based on the idea of accepting all wisdom and knowledge from the world and being able to distill it down into something very practical, and so that it applies to all mankind throughout the whole world, no matter what race, creed, or color, that all men have a common origin and have a common destiny. And the more I looked into religion and theology and politics and the rest of it, there's no doubt in my mind that's true. But the problem is that most people are not ready to accept the idea that the world is not what you think it is. The world is not what you think it is, and I'm going to tell you something. I've spent over 50 years looking at this, and I'm going to tell you the truth. Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police are not here to do what you think they do. Congressmen do not do what you think they do. There's a world of knowledge that's been hidden from people because most people, I guess, can't handle it. So the masters of this world are not going to tell you something you can't handle. But if you're going to be in the world of politics and religion, then you had better understand the way the world really works. And that's a really incredible story that most people are never going to be privy to hear.
Well, there's a very interesting component to our conversation. It's you and me, and our great friend Ted Distel filming, and a couple of my friends here. But through this little device, we have the ear and the eye of the entire world. And you had touched upon something that most people don't understand. Most people haven't figured it out. Most people have a different version of what they think is happening versus what's happening.
Exactly.
There are millions of people searching for your name specifically, coast to coast, Conscious Life. Everybody that they start to coalesce around events like this. So for somebody out there who really doesn't get some of the basic components, what little bits of wisdom can you kind of lead them to start following the trail of breadcrumbs to further knowledge? I mean, you get to point a lot of people, and it's one click away now. So what do you think would be helpful?
The technology we live with today is phenomenal.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you can talk to millions of people now and put it out overnight. It's incredible. But it's a very big subject, and it's kind of hard to know where to start. But let me say that in relation to the three great powers on the earth that control the human race, it's like a three-legged stool on which the earth rests. Politics, religion, money. Politics, religion, commerce. But once you understand that the world that we live in, no matter where it is on the earth, the world that you live in is controlled by words. Words control the world. So you have to watch out what you're saying to people. You have to understand when you're talking to another people from a different country, how you address them, what you say. And especially is that true in finance, corporate finance, and in courts. Because when you say something in a court, you think the terms and the words that you would use here on the street with everyone else, that's not what those words mean in court. They don't mean that in court. That's why you have to have a lawyer to speak for you.
An interpreter.
An interpreter, to talk to the judge the way he understands, not the way you understand. So when you say I'm innocent, no, that doesn't mean what you think it does. You have just said something to a judge. You need to understand that words are very powerful. I mean, and then when you start analyzing the terms that we use the word bank, and everybody knows what a bank is. I said, no, you don't know what a bank is. It's a very big story, but in order for me to make any sense of it, I'd have to go all the way back to square one and explain to you how I got interested in words and terms, and how corporate logos and pictures and symbols and emblems and national coats of arms and harlotry and symbols and secret societies and fraternal orders and banking, all of these things are connected. The world is a business, Mr. Beale. Remember the movie? It was a movie.
Network.
The world is a business. The world, not your country, not your city, the whole world.
Let me
is a
tell you
business.
something. You were upstairs, and I don't think you were downstairs for the George Norrie for his 2012 panel. He had everybody stand up on their feet to close the program
Oh, yeah?
and say, all right, I want everybody 3 times. I want you to say, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. He had the entire room yelling it.
Oh, really?
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
That's
and I think
funny.
most people out there are just looking for a fair shake.
I
You
know.
know, we want to hang out with our friends, have a beer,
I know.
have
You're right.
a significant other, try to make some good decisions, put a little away so you can relax a little bit, so it's not a constant,
I know.
crippling stress. And it just seems like there's a cloud hanging over things.
That's right.
And it feels intentional, but we don't know where to look. It's like you can't grasp it.
Look at
It's
it.
an illusion.
Knowledge is power.
Right.
The reason why Americans have no power, because they have no knowledge. Even in the Bible, in the Old Testament scriptures, God says, my people are dying from a lack of knowledge. Later on, the scripture says in Psalms or in Proverbs that where there is no vision, the people perish. This is what is happening today in the world of mankind all over the earth. Mankind has no vision.
We're short-sighted.
That's right.
I heard another lecture to talk about the 7 generations, the Indian tribe saying, every decision we make today, we must first consider the impact 7 generations. But now it's, we need a quarterly profit statement. Every 3 months, come on, show me profit, even at the expense of the next guy
That's right.
who has to clean up the mess.
That's right.
So what do we do? Besides reading your books, before I forget, where can they find out more about your books? and the
Well,
stuff
my
you do?
name, just go on the web to my website, Jordan Maxwell, and that's Jordan like the river, Jordan, Maxwell like the coffee, jordanmaxwell.com.
Coffee
Very
River. CoffeeRiver.com.
And so, and go to, but most people going to my website will only see the home page and some pictures, and that's it. If you're going to go to my website, check it all out. I got audio, video stuff there, links. I've got all kinds of research materials. So if you're going to go to jordanmaxwell.com, check it all out, because I've got a lot of material there on things that you've never heard of.
At the Conscious Life Expo, and I saw you on the 2012 panel last year,
Mhm.
and we're in the year 2012. It's a
We're here.
common theme. The quick question: what do you plan on doing on December 21st, 2012? What are your plans?
I'm afraid. I don't think 2012 December is going to be, like the movie The End of the World. I don't believe that. Although George Lucas, from what I can gather, gave an interview in which he said he believed that the end of the world was coming in December 2012. Or George Lucas is a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them. So I have a very high respect for the man, because I've had lunch with him and
he's
talked with him,
concerned.
and he's very
A
concerned.
lot of people are concerned.
I know.
Even if it's something like an EMP where the power grid's disrupted for a week. You know what would happen for a week
Massively
in a big
incredible.
city like LA? And it's like, I don't think a lot of people are expecting the earth to crack open
No,
and
no.
comets to come in and dinosaurs to rip my face off or something.
But
Now I was thinking about that visual. But I think people are saying, well, what if the other people aren't prepared? What kind of chaos could there be? So,
well,
where do we go from
all
there?
I would say is for myself, the way I feel is I am very highly spiritual in that I talk to the Spirit continually. I converse and talk with the Spirit. People call it prayer. I call it talking to God, talking to the Spirit. And you'd be surprised it works. If you just sit someplace quietly and audibly talk as if someone was in the room hearing you, and talk to the Spirit and ask the Spirit to protect me, show me what I'm supposed to do, show me who I'm supposed to meet, direct me on what I'm supposed to do in my life, and let me learn what I'm supposed to, and tell me what I'm supposed to do, that kind of thing. You'd be surprised what will happen.
It seems like a lot of people at the Conscious Life Expo are trying to look for that spirituality, not necessarily a brand name of religion.
No,
you got to
no.
worship my God or
No.
your God's.
No.
It's just kind of a feeling that they need to reconnect that we've lost that somehow. Or
Exactly.
we've been distracted.
Well,
You're looking at a shiny little toy and a new
Yeah,
technology
That's right.
when the real stuff is happening.
The
right
real
in front
stuff
of you.
is very simple. You don't need to go to a mosque or church or synagogues or anything else. If what we understand about God and man is very simple, that we are the handiwork of our Creator. So just audibly talk, because there is life in the universe is hearing you. There is a higher dimension in space and a higher intelligence in the world, and we call it God. Well, I don't care what you want to call it, is there. And I have a high respect for it. And so I'm not an atheist. But people who do know my work know that I'm very, very hard on organized religion. Well, I should be. Everyone should be hard on organized religion, because it robs you of your spiritual connection with the divine presence, that all you have to do is sit and talk to God. The Spirit will hear you. You don't think so? When you're through talking to the Spirit, then ask the Spirit, show me that you have heard me. Show me that
I've
you're
done
here
that.
in the room. Show me that you heard me. And watch what happens, because after all, you did ask.
I've had second floor windows open and close.
Well,
After I noticed first, audibly said something, and the answer was answered, and I
when
knew
you
right
asked, didn't you? So,
I used to think, but I grew up I used to think stuff like that was crazy.
oh well, that's okay.
I used to think it was nuts.
It's all right. It just depends on, all apples don't fall from a tree at the same time. You'll figure it out when you're supposed to.
Well, let me wrap this up here, because as a nation, we're trying to figure this out as we're supposed to. You earlier referenced the three-legged stool
Yeah,
of
three-legged
politics,
stool.
religion, and commerce.
Right.
There's nothing we can do if there's a solar flare, an EMP, or a nuclear blast that wipes out our power
That's
grid.
the business of God.
We can't handle meteor, short of Independence Day,
I know,
type
you're
stuff
right.
like that. But we do have an election coming up. We have the chance to pick the CEO of our country. That's commerce, and the leader. Maybe that's not a faith in God, but faith in you're the leader. You're the coach of the team. What advice would you give the voting electorate? What issue would you consider? I don't need an endorsement necessarily.
No,
But
no, I know.
what issues do you think are the most important to consider for this upcoming election?
I would
turn it
suggest that
around?
you might want to, for the first time in your life, understand what politics, government, religion, the great institutions that control civilization, where they came from, and what they represent. Because politics is not what you think it is. First of all, you need to understand that there are two separate governments operating in the United States today. Two totally separate and different governments operating in this country today. One is called the United States of America, which is the constitutional republic, which was founded in 1776, the Constitutional Republic of America. But that home office, or that seat of power, is not in Washington, D.C., it's in Philadelphia. Now, there is another government called the United States Corporation. It's a privately owned company. It's a corporation. And like any other corporation, you have to have a president of a corporation, a vice president, and a secretary-treasurer. That's corporate law. So there are two different governments operating today in America. One is the republic, which has its home office and its seat of power is in the city of Philadelphia. Then there is a corporation, a corporation that was incorporated in the 1870s in Delaware. It's a Delaware corporation, a privately owned company called the United States Corporation. And so if you're a member of that corporation, it's a privately owned company. And so all corporations have to have a president, so they got a president. Obama is not the president of America, the United States of America, the republic. No, that is in Philadelphia. Obama is the president of a privately owned corporation. It was incorporated in Delaware in the 1870s, a privately owned company. We need to understand how this stuff really works. I mean, why do you go to a bank? Why do you put money into a bank? Where do you find a bank? A bank is on both sides of a river. It's called a river bank. What does a river bank
The
do?
Coffee River?
Huh?
The Coffee River? Jordan Maxwell?
And so if you put your money in a bank, where do you find a bank? It's on both sides of a river, called river banks. What does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency, because your money is called a current.
Directs the flow of the current.
Yeah,
See?
it's a current. It's a cash flow.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Who benefits?
That's it.
All right.
It's the
Well,
liquid asset. And
you're a
it has-
punny guy. Punny guy.
Oh, how am I funny? Come on, how am I funny?
Punny. No.
So, but I'm just saying that words are very important. Why do you go to court? You play basketball on a court. You play tennis on a court. How do you play tennis on a court? You play with a racket. Come on, understand that the guys who run this planet have set it up in such a way that the words and the terms and the symbols, it's all.
And how is Vegas set up?
Oh,
Doesn't
yeah.
the house always win?
That's right. And once you understand how this world really works and what the words really mean, and when you go to court, why does the judge wear a black robe? Why is it when he walks in, everyone rises? The same way in the Catholic Church, when the Catholic priest walks out, everyone rises. Why? Because the church and the court operate under maritime admiralty law. Well, if you don't understand anything about maritime admiralty law, you're never going to understand what's going on in the church or in a courtroom. You need to understand how the world really works. That's what I've been doing for 50 years, trying to get people to sit down and listen to me and let me explain the way your world really works. Because knowledge is power. Without the knowledge, you have no power.
And tell people one more time the name of your website where they can find out more about your books and your speeches.
Yeah,
and your
all
lectures.
of it's on my website, jordanmaxwell.com. So I appreciate and tell you how much I appreciate being here and thank you for, and let's do it again.
I got to see you last year, and I was not very familiar with your body of work, but I'm a lot
okay.
more familiar with it now, and I
Well,
appreciate
let's
your
do it
time.
again. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Sure.
That was awesome.
You are watching The New American Media.